We often think of our mental health and our physical health as two totally separate things. But what if they're not? What if what's happening in your mind could be physically changing your body in a dangerous and kind of hidden way? Today, we're going to explore this really surprising scientific link between depression and a very specific type of belly fat. So what is the connection? Well, it's a huge question, right? Because we're seeing two massive health crises, depression and obesity, rising at the exact same time. For the longest time, we've just treated them as separate problems. But what if that's been a mistake? New research is starting to suggest this is no coincidence at all.
And just to give you a sense of the scale of what we're talking about, in India alone, that number represents an estimated 57 million people who are affected by depression. It's sometimes called the common cold of mental illness, but its effect on the body can be way, way more serious.
Okay, so where does this idea even come from? Is there actual proof of this physical connection? Well, a really fascinating study from 2023 gives us our first major clue. Researchers asked a pretty simple question. Can you actually see a physical, measurable difference in the body of someone who has depression? And the way they set this study up was honestly brilliant. They took people who had just been diagnosed with depression, and this is key, people who had not yet started taking any medication for it, and they compared them to a healthy control group. This means that whatever differences they found, you couldn't just blame them on the side effects of pills. And that's where this term drug naive becomes so important. It's the secret sauce of the whole study. See, by looking at patients before they started any antidepressants, some of which are known to cause weight gain, the scientists could isolate the effects of the depression itself. It just gives you a much cleaner, much clearer picture of what's really going on.
So what did they find? Well, it wasn't some tiny, insignificant detail. The results were, honestly, they were striking. They revealed this clear physical link that's basically been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
All right, let's look at the actual numbers for this thing called visceral fat. In the healthy control group, the average was around 5.7%. Now, look at the group with depression, almost 13.7%. That is a massive, massive jump. And it's pointing to a very specific, hidden kind of fat. This chart just drives the point home, doesn't it? It's not even close. We are talking about more than double the amount of this specific fat in the people with depression. This isn't a small statistical blip. It is a huge physiological difference. So, what exactly is this stuff?
Let's put a single jaw-dropping number on that difference. It's a nearly 139% increase. And this is so important because it shows us it's not just about gaining weight in general. Something very specific is happening here, with a very specific kind of fat. And that leads us right to this idea, a tale of two fats. Because, and this is the crucial part, not all body fat is the same. To really get why this is a big deal, you have to understand the difference between the fat you can see and, well, the fat you can't.
So on one side, you have subcutaneous fat. That's the stuff right under your skin, the kind you can pinch. It's visible, sure, but it's much less of a health concern. But then there's visceral fat, and this stuff is the real villain of the story. It's hidden, packed deep inside your belly, wrapping itself around your vital organs like your liver and your heart. And I'm not just calling it a villain for dramatic effect. In fact, it's so dangerous that health experts have literally nicknamed it toxic fat. And it earns that name not just because of where it lives, but because of the damage it's actively doing to your body. So toxic is a pretty strong word. What makes this hidden fat so bad? Well, it creates this dangerous ripple effect. It sets off a whole cascade of serious health problems that can spread through your entire system. And when you look at the list of what it's linked to, it's pretty scary. We're talking about a who's who of major diseases. Huge things like heart disease and strokes, type 2 diabetes, even scary stuff like certain cancers and dementia. It's a full-body threat. And here's the kicker. Here's the reason it's so destructive. This fat isn't just sitting there taking up space. No, it's metabolically active. Think of it like a rogue organ or a little factory that's constantly pumping out inflammatory chemicals, messing with your hormones, and basically creating the perfect environment for disease to take hold. Okay, So that was a lot of pretty heavy news. But here is the single most important part of this whole story. You can fight back. This dangerous fat is actually very responsive to lifestyle changes. You are not powerless here, and we're going to talk about what you can do.
So let's break it down into 4 simple, actionable steps. This is your game plan. First, it starts with your diet. More plants, lean protein, healthy fats. Second, just be mindful of how much you're eating. Third, and this is a huge one, ditch the sugary drinks. Just swap them for water. And finally, get moving. Aim for a mix of cardio that gets your heart pumping and some strength training a couple of times a week. And hey, if you want to supercharge your efforts, if you're looking for the most bang for your buck, there's a specific type of exercise that seems to work wonders here. It's called high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. The research shows these short, intense bursts of exercise are especially good at targeting and burning off that visceral fat. So when you put it all together, this powerful link between our mood and this hidden fat tells us something profound. Our mental and physical health aren't just related. They're really 2 sides of the same coin. It proves our bodies are constantly sending us signals in ways we can feel and in ways we can't even see. The only question is, are we listening?